Hi, it's my pleasure on behalf of the Office of Child Care National Center on Afterschool and Summer Enrichment, or NCASE, to welcome you to today's webinar on business practices for out-of-school time childcare. I'm Siobhan Braden, and as part of Truth and Reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge that I am participating from EDC headquarters in current-day Waltham, Massachusetts, which is located on the unceded lands of the Pawtucket and Massachusetts peoples who continue to live and thrive in this area. As you're joining us, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know from where you're participating. It's wonderful to see participants from so many places all over the country joining us today. I'm Siobhan Braden, as I said, and I'm joined today by my NCASE colleagues, Preeti Washington and Mary Colleton. And we're also excited to have Patricia Valenzuela from the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance joining us today. Welcome, Patricia. Most of you are likely familiar with NCASE, but for those who aren't, NCASE is part of a national training and technical assistance system funded by the Administration for Children and Families Child Care and Development Fund, or CCDF, administered by the Office of Child Care under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This network of national TA centers supports states, territories, and tribes in implementing CCDF to provide low-income families who are working or participating in education with help paying for childcare.
Thanks, Siobhan. Hi, everybody. My name is Preeti. I'm joining you all from Chicago, and I would also like to join with a land acknowledgement in saying that the Chicago or Chicago area is located on the ancestral lands of indigenous tribes that include the Council of Three Fires, comprised of the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, as well as dozens of other tribes that were vital to the trading network that the Midwest area is famous for. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. And as we are either preparing for the holiday season or at the very least, I hope, preparing to wind down the year, we thought it might be a nice check-in to think about our dream vacation location. So we'd like you to take a couple of minutes and use these numbers and let us know in the chat, are you a beach person? Do you prefer the sights and sounds and happenings of the big city? Do you escape to nature? Are you a daredevil, or a little bit of each? So if you could just put your top choice in the chat, and you can add more than one. You can rank them if you like. Lots of beach people. I am not a daredevil, so you won't see a 4 for me. Nature is also very nice. I have to admit, I think I've watched too many spooky movies with my children, so I tend not to do nature camping getaways as much, but I think it's still really nice. So lots of beach, folks. Beach and nature. Oh, someone said all 4. It depends. I like it. I like it. Well, thank you all very much for taking the time to think about that with us. And maybe some of you hopefully are actually headed to a dream location during this time of the year.
Thanks, Preeti. So our agenda for today, we're going to provide an overview of business practices for childcare providers. And Patricia will give us an overview of the training that's offered by her national center on this topic. Then we'll focus on business practices and out-of-school time. And then we'll have an engaging activity on supporting the age continuum. So families with children ages birth through 12. We'll have Q&A. We'll share some resources, and then we'll wrap up. First, we'd like to hear from you. Can you please launch our polls, Mary? Great. Okay, so we have 2 questions for you. You'll need to scroll down to see the second one. The first one is, what is your role? And we try to be as comprehensive as possible with this. but we always get folks that don't fit into any of these roles. So we do have an other, and we'd love it if you do select other, if you could put it in the chat, because that will help us to know what other roles are participating in our activities. And then secondly, what is your level of knowledge or awareness on business practices for out of school time? So we'll give this just a minute more. I see the responses are coming in. Okay, great. Mary, can you go ahead and end our poll, please, and share the results? Oh, Nicole, thank you for specifying your other role, Early Childhood Quality Assistant for South Dakota QRIS pilot. Okay, great. That's helpful to us to know who's joining us. Okay, so we definitely have a mixture of roles joining us today. It looks like the largest percentage of folks joining us, 20%, are direct child care provider, either program staff or director. We also close to that, we have state agency staff, 21st century, licensing quality, and then we have a lot of folks who are CCDF lead agency staff, training and TA. So we have quite a range of folks in our audience, which is great, as we expected, colleagues. And then in terms of knowledge of this topic, 44% say that you're minimally aware, 33% moderately aware, and 13% very aware, and 9% not at all aware. Thanks, that's great. Helpful for us as we go through our material today and share with you. Patricia, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about the business practices for childcare training.
Thank you, Siobhan. This is Patricia Valenzuela. I'm with the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance, and I'm excited today to share with you a little bit about the training that we offer out of our center. This training is titled Strengthening Business Practices, and the goal of our training really was built to strengthen our providers' foundational knowledge of those sound fiscal management and business practices. This training was developed recently in 2018 in response to the CCDF final rule, and specifically 98.16Z, where CCDF said that states and territories are now required to develop and implement strategies to strengthen the business practices of childcare providers, to expand the supply and improve the quality of childcare services. And so with that, ECQA decided to jump on board and start to provide or develop a training that would meet that need. And so with work with our partners like NCASE, and also from states, we developed what's now called the Strengthening Business Practices Training of Trainers, which is what we deliver out of our center. There's a lot of benefits for this training, including sustaining and increasing the access to high quality childcare, tools for states to provide business skills at no cost to the providers, tools to support administrative staff at no cost, hands-on application, and of course, encouraging provider networking and support. So like I mentioned, this was developed with state input as well as our partner input. We piloted this training with 5 states originally, and that was with Connecticut, Indiana, Montana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Utah. And once we piloted this training, then we made some final revisions, brought it to our partners at NCASE, and got some feedback that was more out of school time specific to make sure that we were meeting the needs of this group as well. So with that, we finalized our documents and we're able to provide this training now out in the field. So our training consists of 4 modules. The first 2 modules cover fiscal management. The very first module, we talk all about budgeting, the importance of budgeting, and we take some deep dives into things like expenses and sources of income, where those come from. We also take some deep dives into projecting revenue and how our providers can project revenue and what types of income is available out there in the field. That's really our first module. Our second module covers financial reports, and there's 3 specific reports that we cover in our second module. The first report is the income statement. The second report is the balance sheet, and the third report is the cash flow statement. Now, we like to believe here at ECQA that strong business practices lead to better outcomes for children. And so this is really why we provide these trainings. So those first two trainings around fiscal are really important to set that foundation. And we always let our trainers know that this is a foundational training and that we're not trying to make anyone into accountants or financial experts, but we do want the programs and the providers, as well as the mentors and the coaches, to understand their programs fiscally. So we all know how to tell our stories narratively very well. And we know that a lot of the people we work with did not join the childcare workforce because they loved running businesses, but rather because they loved working with children and families. And so with that, we really just want to empower our business owners out there to work on building their business practices implementation so that they can tell their story, like I mentioned, not just narratively, but numerically. So those are our first 2 modules. Our third module is around marketing. And when we're talking about marketing, we're really talking about recruitment and retention. And when we're talking about recruitment and retention, we're talking about recruitment and retention of children and families. And so what we do is we talk all around those different strategies and we help them create a marketing toolbox of the different ways that they can recruit and retain children and families. So that is what our third module covers. And today we're going to go through one of the activities in a little bit. One of the activities that we introduce in this third module around marketing, that's called an environmental scan, where we give our trainers and the providers an opportunity to really just take a really quick overview of what's happening in their environment. We like to look 1 to 5 miles away from the location and have that conversation. So we're going to do that with you all in just a little bit here today, focusing on the out of school time continuum and availability for marketing towards those groups. And then finally, we cover staffing. So in our fourth module, we cover staffing. And in staffing, we do the same thing, recruitment and retention. But instead of recruitment and retention for children and families, we focus on recruitment and retention for our staff. And so we know a lot of our out of school time providers can be might not have staff. And so it might not be relevant to this specific group. And so what we always say is, if it's relevant to the provider, then we should offer that training. If it's not relevant to the provider, maybe that's something that they can hold on to. And if they're looking to expanding in the future, they can visit this module as well. So you might be wondering, hey, Patricia, this sounds like a great idea, and I'd love to get access to these modules, or I want to be trained. And so you might be thinking, who can use these resources? So these resources are intended for educators of early childhood professionals. So technical assistant providers like mentors in the field, coaches in the field, and trainers in the field. And and those folks will go out and train providers. So this is a training of trainers. So if you're working for an organization that has mentors, coaches, or trainers, and you're interested, it'd be great for us to connect so that we can get you the training of trainers so that you can start talking to providers in your area about the importance of business practices and these 4 modules. So the format of this training is it is a curriculum that's designed to meet the needs of family childcare providers and center-based programs. So we work with both groups, and we have 2 sets of modules, one for each of those groups. So in total, we have 8 modules, 4 for family childcare and 4 for center-based programs. There's some minor differences for that family childcare provider group in comparison to the center aged group, but both of these modules do cover the unique needs that the out-of-school time providers might encounter. So we have prompting questions that will be geared towards that group of out-of-school time, and we make sure we know our audience and we know who's in the room so that we can provide those prompting questions when it comes to that group and those unique ways that the out-of-school time participants need to budget, because we know that can get pretty tricky and sticky when you're working through a budget and you're looking for how to project your cost, your expenses, and your revenue. The content that we have developed is fully customizable. So states might be saying, oh, you're working from a national level and this is really general information, but I'd like to put some state, territory, or tribal specific information into that. Can I modify the ECQA modules? And the answer is yes, you definitely can modify our modules. We actually can also offer technical assistance alongside you to help you modify our developed modules and input some of your state, territory, or tribal specific information in there. So you're not, when you take our training, you're not, you don't have to do it with fidelity. You definitely can take it and make it your own. So that is also an option for us, for you, as well as us to work alongside one another and offer technical assistance. Our trainings are developed with the adult learners in mind. So we embed a lot of activities. We have flexibility in our delivery method. We have small to medium groups. So when you get trained, we do like to train at minimum 8 people in the group and no more than 25 folks in one group setting. Additionally, this training is pretty long, so I do have to share that with you. Each module is at least 3 hours long. I'm currently working with North Carolina, and we're delivering these 4 modules in 2 days. So yesterday, I trained North Carolina on Module 1 and Module 2. Their group was specific for family childcare providers and out-of-school time. So that's what our training is focused on. We covered yesterday Module 1 and Module 2, and then tomorrow we'll be covering Module 3 and Module 4. So that's one way that we offer the training. We've also offered it over 6 days, over 3 weeks. We offered it to Hawaii on Saturdays. So we're really flexible in how we offer this training, and we know the unique needs of not only time zones, states, territories, tribes, but we also understand the needs of out of school time. So we are very flexible when we offer our training, and I just wanted to let you all know that as well. We all of the resources that you need so that you can go out and train this material on your own. As a participant in our training of trainers, you will get a guide with all of the notes. You'll receive all of the handouts, online resources, because a lot of us have moved from training in person to training virtually, and we understand that with that we still want to have a good time. We still want to learn through play and activities, and so we've modified some of our activities to be online virtual. You'll also receive links to all of our virtual activities, activity materials, electronic access to the curriculum. And for those of you who said you were here with some Head Start and Head Start partners, we definitely use Mango apps or My Peers and we'll give you all access to that. And we have that online forum for trainer dialogue and group discussions. I'm taking a peek over here on my right screen, and I'm seeing some questions pop up, and people are saying, how much does this cost, Patricia? There's no way that this is Free. Well, we don't like to say that it's free. We like to say that it's at no cost to the recipients. So, all of this training is provided at no cost to you because it is funded out of the Administration for Children and Families, Health and Human Services, Office of Child Care, in collaboration with the Office of Head Start. So, while we're all trained on this, we can also offer that to you at no cost. One thing that is important in understanding that as well as that in turn, because it was developed with federal dollars, trainers cannot charge for this specific training once they've been trained in the materials. So this is a little bit about our training that we offer. And again, this is a training of trainers so that mentors, coaches, and trainers within your lead agency can go out and talk to out of school time providers about business practices to really get them engaged in enhancing that. Because again, like I mentioned before, we do believe that strong business practices will lead to better outcomes for children. And I just want to say thank you for letting me provide that overview for you all. And I'm going to pass it back on over.
Preeti, before
Yes,
you jump in, is it okay? I want to lift up a couple of other questions that came up in the chat
definitely.
because other people might have had them as well. So you answered the one about all training and materials developed by your center, NCASE, all of these National Technical Assistance Centers, because they are funded with federal dollars. There is no charge for them. Several folks said that they would like to get more information about the training. I know you're going to be sharing resources at the end. Will you also have a link that people can use to learn more about the training? Would they get in touch with your center? Because we do have a mix of folks here, right? So we have some folks from CCDF lead agencies. We also have some folks that I think maybe childcare providers, and they might want to find out where they could get the training in their location. So what would be the next steps around that if they want to know more?
Yes, I will share with you all the email to my center, and you can contact us there. Either if you're a mentor, coach, or a trainer, we will contact you directly. And if you're a provider, we will get you in contact with a trainer in your area.
Great, thank you. And just one other thing to lift up, somebody did ask, right before you started talking about how school age and out of school time is part of the training, someone did ask that. So I'm glad that that you answered that question by saying that this training does include working with children across the age continuum. So and I believe that earlier on in the training, there was more of a focus on early childhood. And I think that might have been before you joined ECQA, Patricia. But because of the work with NCASE and bringing in that out of school time voice, there is more of an incorporation of school age and out of school time focus in the training now. Correct?
Sure.
We had a question specifically about that as well.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that too. When folks are joining the training in a general training and maybe not a specific out of school time training, that general training definitely does focus on the ECE, world. And so if we're working with specifically out of school time folks, we do have prompting questions and content for that group as well. So we alter the training for the group.
Thanks, Patricia. I'll pass it back to Preeti, and as you said, we'll make sure that folks get that contact information to get more information about the training. We'll put it in the chat and also in the follow-up notes. Okay, back to you, Preeti.
No problem. Let's go on to the next slide. And I can actually attest to, I was allowed to actually go through the training myself, and the information, the conversation and the information really can speak to the continuum, and there are definite applications to out of school time childcare. The other thing I wanted to add is that in our work, we also talk a lot about equity. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that we know that the majority of the childcare workforce are women, and there's a significant percentage of women in color. And like Patricia mentioned earlier, many people get into the business because they have the heart for it. But at the end of the day, it is still a business. And so having these resources, having this training, having access to this information from an equity perspective, I think is really, really important. So thank you again, Patricia. And as we transition to talking about the business practices in out of school time or OST care, because we're lucky to have such a diverse audience, so many different people in the room, in the Zoom room, I wanted to ground us first by reviewing a few definitions real quick. So when we say school age, when you hear say school age, we're referring to the age of the children served, which for our purposes is ages 5 through 12. And that's differentiated from infant, toddler, and preschool care. When you hear us say out of school time, that refers to programming, of course, outside of the school day. So that's before and after school, summer, school breaks, and even on weekends, because it's also inclusive of those non-traditional hours. And finally, after school and summer enrichment is part of our National Center's name. And we also use that interchangeably with out of school time. So our conversation around business practices in OST will focus on the needs of providers who serve school-age children during those OST periods. And next slide, please. So as Patricia mentioned, and we talked about, NCASE had the opportunity to contribute to the ongoing business practices training and really share that school age and out of school time perspective. But as we partnered with ECQA, the nuances of out of school time care were very clear. And so in response, back in May, NCASE published this resource, Business Practices Tips for Out of School Time Childcare. The goal of the tip sheet is really to highlight those areas where the needs of providers who either provide school-age care exclusively or as part of their existing childcare business would require some extra consideration. So again, when I say existing business, it could be center-based or family childcare providers who serve school-age children before the school day, after the school day, during breaks and summer. And the tip sheet highlights 3 key areas: budgeting, marketing, and staffing. And let's go on to the next slide, please. So again, I want to recognize that we have a mixed audience in terms of how we support childcare, as we saw in the poll that we took earlier. We're always mindful that we support this work wearing different hats. And so I want to take a little while to explore a bit further how the business practices that are highlighted in the NCASE tip sheets, how these resources would show up in out of school time childcare spaces. So if you are a provider, if you're a colleague who directly supports providers, or you work at the systems level, how you plan, create supports, or even address professional development might show up differently. So first, marketing. When we talk about marketing for our providers, this can include planning for when school-age childcare happens. Are your needs for meals, materials, transportation, staffing, are those different during the school year versus breaks and summer? As a provider, would you consider looking at your rates or maybe offering discounts because those times aren't all day, every day for your school-age children and families? For our childcare resource and referral colleagues and our after-school network colleagues, are there funding opportunities that you could share or collaborations that you could help support as the needs of families change? And then finally, for our system level supports, can understanding this fluctuation and this change in need help you with your planning? Can it help you respond to questions or help with funding requests? Are there opportunities that you could create to support out of school time providers or the provision of OST care? Next, when we look at marketing, providers could benefit from reaching out to existing families, because lots of families will have children that are younger as well as older. And it's important to note that when you do that marketing and that outreach, that out of school time providers might in fact be marketing to some of the same areas as early childhood providers in your community. You might be marketing to medical facilities, to libraries, to social service agencies. And as a business owner, it's important to note that. But providers can also reach out to and maybe develop partnerships with schools. There might be schools who are offering in-school, out-of-school time care, and a provider might see that initially as competition. But through marketing, you might find out they have limited slots. There's an overflow. They have a waiting list. And so that might be an opportunity that through marketing, an OST provider could uncover. For CCRNRs and our after-school networks, you can support by helping with outreach activities and really helping to forge those collaborations within the communities. And for our systems level colleagues, information from things like market rate analyses, environmental scans, or other sources that happen at that systems level, that information could actually help childcare business owners determine if they're being competitive or if they're in step with other businesses and childcare providers in their area. And then finally, staffing, which is a very important area, and we talk a lot about. We know that childcare providers, especially OST childcare providers, are always thinking about how they can make their businesses more attractive for both their current employees as well as potential employees. And so some of these considerations could be looking at what it might mean to your budget, to your business, to expand and maybe include different shifts to meet the needs of families. Again, thinking about if you know in your community there are businesses that run 24 hours, do you need to look at non-traditional care? Could doing that make you competitive? What's the cost to your business to do that? And again, as we mentioned, what are the staffing implications during the school year versus breaks in summer? And we also know that providers who offer school-age OST care exclusively many times will have staff that are part-time, seasonal, or both. As a business, how do you plan for that? For our CCRNR and our after-school networks, you can serve as being thought partners for providers. You can share leads and resources, as well as helping with recruiting. And at the systems level, we've seen system level supports through the American Rescue Plan Act funding that was available for school-age childcare providers. And it really, really helped further highlight those unique needs for out-of-school time staff. And let's go on to the next slide. So we really want to continue to highlight the importance of honoring the continuum when we talk about planning for supports for providers and children and families. We all have our unique priorities and our needs, but we also know that none of our work exists in a vacuum. And so to demonstrate this, I'm going to turn it back to my colleague and partner, Patricia, to lead us in an activity.
Thank you, Preeti. I'm going to lead us in an activity that comes out of the Strengthening Business Practices Module 3 around marketing. And I thank you so much, Preeti, for just talking a little bit about marketing and how important it is for our out-of-school time providers to engage in that process of marketing their programs. And so with that, I am going to start us on an activity. Now, the purpose of this activity is really to get an idea of what's around our environment. We know how important it is for our providers to have a good sense of what's available in their area to them and what opportunities exist that they haven't tapped into quite yet. So really the goal of this activity here is around and doing just that, looking at our environment and checking out that environment and what it looks like. So with that, we're going to join this activity where we will be engaging you all to think about the environment where school-age children take place in their after-school activities. What's needed to make that successful. And while we're focusing on that school age and out of school time group, we want to be mindful that there are communities across this age continuum. So we hope that this is going to show and demonstrate the benefit of our collaborations. So with that, I want you to think, because I know that we're all in different capacities, but we're all working with out of school time. So some of you might be providers, some of you might be mentors, some of you might be working for things like CCR&Rs, and maybe we're not all working currently with specifically with out of school time children. So what I want you to do is to take a minute to think about a program that you're currently working with that offers out of school time services, or a program that you've worked with in the past that you work really close with. Maybe you ran a program that offered out of school time in the past, or just a program that you really enjoy. So think about that program, and I want you to put yourself as a staff member that is in charge of marketing for that program. So the first thing I want us to think about for your program is physical location. And so you can see that Mary has dropped a link to the Padlet. And in that Padlet, you'll see these 4 categories that we're going to cover. Now, the first one, again, is physical location. You can add a little plus sign as you're thinking about that program's physical location. You can respond in there by answering these questions. Where is that program physically located? Is it in a rural setting, a suburban setting, an urban setting? Is there a highway really close? Is it next to a school? Is it next to a big business? Are there office complexes close by? Is it its own separate facility? So as you're thinking about that, I want you to click on that Padlet and click the plus sign to add the post to this section. And I see some comments coming through. I see rural location near a waterfront. I see near a middle school and an intermediate school. In the school, so physically the program is part of the school at the same facility. I'm seeing in a city near a public park, rural area in a school building, after school near a major highway. So what is that physical location? Thinking about that, go ahead and put in your responses. I see rural in a tribal community. We have some really good, unique responses here. We're seeing suburban recreation center and in school sites. So this is a multi-site program. So think about that physical location. And if you think of anything else that you'd like to add in there, please feel free to add that physical location to this part of the Padlet. But we're going to move on to the next section, which is the demographics. So I want you to think about the demographics of the community where that program is. So what is the community like? Is the population diverse? Are there other languages spoken? I want you to add in some of the demographics of that program you're thinking about right now. So that program, does it have a lot of working families? Do they need out of school time services? What are their income levels like? So I want you to go to the Padlet on that next section and add posts to this section in regards to the demographics of the community where your program is. All right. Sometimes you need to refresh your page. So go ahead and refresh and click add to your demographics. All right, I see some programs that are located in small communities, some that are located in diverse populations in relation to the state, some Spanish-speaking communities, some really diverse population, working families, lots of grandparents in them that are involved. So as we're going through this, I want to just remind you that we're doing this as a group, but I also want you to consider when you're doing this with your participants, as you're training them, or as you're doing this as a provider yourself, you're going to be working on this environmental scan on one sheet for yourself. So you'll be doing this either alone or with others that work directly with you. And you'll be thinking about your environment for your program. And you'll be doing an environmental scan of 1 to 5 miles away and thinking about just your specific program. So within 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to be really getting an idea of what's around you in your environment. So I just want to point out that while we're doing this in a large group, it's very powerful for you all to do this in your small group for your specific program. So if you're a provider, this is something that you can do with your teammates, with someone you work closely with, someone in your network. So this is just a really good activity to get your brain wrapped around this idea of marketing. Now we're going to move over to the next one, which is prospective feeder businesses. So think
Patricia,
about
excuse me 1 second. A couple folks are unable to create sticky notes in Padlet. So I just want to let folks know that if you can't do that and you want to put things in the chat, we'll add them to Padlet. I can go ahead and add them to Padlet for you. So thanks.
So put those right into the chat if you're not able to get in here, and our team can add those in to the Padlet for you. So with the program you have in mind, I want us to move over to prospective feeder businesses. So think about that. What businesses are in the local area for the program? What businesses are there? Maybe for me, one thing when I was a Head Start director, one of the businesses that was really prevalent in our community, which was a tribal community, were casinos. And so we had to think about that and how we were going to offer services to the folks that were working those unique hours, nights, swing shifts, graveyards, weekends, all of those things. So think about those prospective feeder businesses and what they are, what they're like. And remember that most people who come to our programs are going to be either living within a 1 to 5 mile radius of us or working in a 1 to 5 mile radius of us. So we always want to think about that when we're doing this environmental scan. So are there any industrial parks? Are there hospitals in the area? I'm seeing some really good comments in here. You want to also think about some of the companies that employ a lot of people in those unique hour companies. Think about the days that they're open, the times that they're open. Is there any shift work that's really early in the morning that require out of school time services, or really late or on the weekends? Could you collaborate with some of these companies to offer a discount to families who are working for these businesses? You can find a lot of information about these different businesses if you haven't had time to do the research on your own. You can find a lot of information through your local Chamber of Commerce or those local small business administrations services that are doing research in the area. So I'm seeing lots of great information around prospective feeder businesses and opportunities for you all to market to some of these that would need some out of school time services. All right. And now we're going to go to our last one. And our last one is going to be other childcare options. So it's also important when you're doing an environmental scan for the program you're thinking about or you're currently with, to think about those other childcare options that are in the area. So we're going to move over to this last tab. And in this last tab, I want you to think about that. Who's available that's already offering out-of-school time services in your area? It's important to know what they are and what families are considering. Think about what ages do they serve. So there might be a lot of childcare programming, but are they only focused on early childhood? Do they have the capability to offer services to wraparound services like out of school time? You're not going to necessarily look for this information to compete, but rather to identify what makes your program unique and compelling for families. Figure out what sets you apart. How do you differentiate yourself from other programs? We already know that you're offering out of school time services. So, right there, you know you're different. But what about the ones that also offer the similar services to you? How will you be unique? So, thinking really about the other childcare options in your area. Not all parents will choose your program, and that's okay. But it's important for you to know where you fit into the market and who your specific audience might be. Price is another point of comparison, obviously. And we want to think about that as well. How does your price compare to others? So, as I wrap up this activity, I just want to remind you all that while I think that while you're seeing all of this all of these different comments and posts for all of us, I want to remind you that if you do this just by yourself for your specific program, you'll get a really nice product at the end to really help you as you're marketing your program to families and their children in your area with your focus of out of school time. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to you all. Thanks for participating in this just one activity from our modules.
Thank you so much. And Siobhan, I know you're going to close us out. One of the other things I wanted to add is that one of the other great benefits of doing this is not only seeing what else is being offered around your childcare business, but also what types of activities. And so when you think about marketing your business, because your childcare service is a business, and you think about what services you want to offer, there may be lots of other providers, but are they offering other things that families, the wonderful thing about out of school time is that out of school time providers can offer care that speaks to families. So are these other providers offering services in the language of the families in the area? Are they offering school supports? Are they offering other activities that might be desired, but or not being offered that families might want? And by doing this market analysis, you can find that information out, and that would also grow your business. So I learned that in the training, so I wanted to add that. Thank you, Patricia. And Siobhan, I know it's back to you.
Thanks so much. That was really interesting, Patricia. I actually had not gone through that process before, and I learned a lot. So I'm just going to bring us back to our slide deck and wrap us up. I don't see any specific questions in the chat. Well, there's one specific one that's individual, so I'll follow up with that person separately. So I'm just going to wrap us up with some resources as soon as I open the deck again. And as I mentioned in the chat, we will share the Padlet so that folks have an opportunity to just have this as an artifact to stimulate your thinking. Obviously, as Patricia said, when you are working on this, it would be individual. And when participants in the training are working on it, but this was just to give you a sense of the types of tools that are available to you. Okay, I'm trying to share just the deck, not the presenter view. But I think I'm sharing the presenter view, right? Okay,
Yeah.
then.
It's a preview, giving us a preview.
Give you a little preview. Well, we already did that anyway, so. Okay, one more time, I'm gonna try to switch, and otherwise people will just have to see a little more than we had planned, but that's okay because there's nothing secret about it. So we want to share a couple resources with you. We'll start with NCASE resources. The business practices tip sheet that we share today is in our NCASE resource library, which is a curated collection of a variety of materials related to out-of-school time care, and that's on the Child Care Technical Assistance Network website, which is where all of the information and materials for our Office of Child Care National Centers resides. We update it quarterly, and it has a variety of different resources from a number of organizations and subject matter experts on OST topics, including quality systems and equity, workforce, mental health, licensing, cross-sector collaboration, and many more. And then we do, in addition to this webinar today and other universal type offerings like webinars and conference presentations, we do also offer individualized TA to states, territories, and tribes. And if you are with a state, territory, or tribal CCDF lead agency, you can always access that technical assistance through your regional office. Now I'm going to pass it to Patricia to share resources before we wrap up. Patricia.
Hi, yes, one of the resources that was shared briefly on the tip sheet was the provider cost equality calculator. And so I'm going to be dropping the link in there for you all to have access to that, as well as our NCECQA webpage for additional information. So I will drop that link in there, and we'll also be sharing that via our follow-up email.
I want to thank everybody so much for joining us today. Really appreciated your active engagement and your consideration about how to serve children and families. And very thankful to have our colleague, Patricia from NCECQA, joining us today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. We will send follow-up information to you as noted at the beginning of the event. So thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.